really long video on my baseball career, but I want to talk more about the coach's son that I dealt with for 3 years of my playing career. This guy was an only child, and he was very spoiled. Because even my dad was like, he's more spoiled than you are. Of course, my dad thinks anyone that doesn't work a full-time job at the age of 10 is spoiled, so I always kind of took that with a grain of salt. Blah, 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 don't know how good you had it. Stuff like that. But this kid really was, because one thing he would do all the time, and I mean all the time, he'd just stay home from school. Like, not sick. He would just be like, hey, Mom, Dad, I don't want to go to school. Okay, son. You can just stay home. And because many times we'd have to wait to start practice because the coach would have to go get him. And the ironic thing was, we literally practiced at the school he went to. But his dad had to go to more trouble to get him because he just didn't want to go to school that day. And he did it all the time. Not just like when we were 7, but through the years. Like even when he was like 10 years old, guys he went to school with, yeah, he's just playing hooky again. It's just like, what do you mean? He just stays home with his mom. He does it about, I don't know, once or twice a month. And the school just doesn't care. Indulges him in this nonsense. Yeah, man. They just let him do it. And because of all that, and being an only child, he pretty much got whatever he wanted. And he bragged about it, because he would brag about stuff and be like, well, it only costs $40. And contrary to what my dad says, I wasn't spoiled. My parents weren't going to buy me something that cost $40 just because I wanted it. No. Anything that cost that much, that was going to be a birthday or Christmas present. There was no such indulgences, but he was. And because he was the coach's son, his dad, he would whine for more playing time, and usually a coach's son is pretty decent. He wasn't that good. He was probably on the level of me, if not a little bit worse. But it doesn't matter, because he was bad, and he'd get into bad habits. Because he would do whatever he wanted, throw rocks, shit like that. And it drove my dad crazy that kids did that in baseball. I didn't. I never did, because number one, I couldn't handle the stares of my dad just being like, what the hell are you doing? And or two, it was just stupid. But he would do it, and my dad was less than amused. And I'll give it to him, that kid had the best of everything when it came to baseball. His dad bought him a brand new bat that cost $120. He didn't like it, so he just gave it to somebody else on the team, and his dad didn't bat an eye and bought him another one. Like it was nothing. Oh, he didn't like that, so I'm just gonna get him a new one. Oh, well, that's cool, I guess. And I'm trying to think what else. Some of the bad habits he got into, he took throwing sidearmed. And I don't know why he did this, but his dad couldn't talk him out of it. Because his dad, they always use the expression, you couldn't tell somebody anything. It wasn't that you couldn't tell anything, it's just his dad wouldn't. Oh, well, my son wants to throw sidearmed. He can just do whatever he wants. It's okay. It is okay, son. Do whatever you like. And he got to a point where when he experienced live pitching, he did what was called stepping in the bucket. If you're not a baseball fan or never seen baseball, imagine somebody's up to bat and they just kind of trying to step away from the ball because they're scared of it. And that's what he did. In one game, he stepped away because he was scared, and then had time to step back in, and he hit a double. And you'd think he hung the moon, the way those people carried on. They were just so proud of, his name was Chad, of dear Chadwick and his baseball playing ability. Even though I was the only one that noticed, he looked ridiculous. And then the next year we were 10. It wasn't enough that Chad had to be a leadoff hitter. Oh no. Chad needed to be a pitcher. He wanted to pitch despite being atrocious. And even his dad could not overlook how bad he was at pitching, because we had a practice game and he pitched, and between beaning hitters and walking batters, he was doing poorly, and his dad's just like, well, he had to get another coach to talk to him because he just didn't want to have to deal with it himself, or just didn't have it in him, because I guess his son was so spoiled he didn't want to. Because I will hand Chad one thing. He didn't like throw fits or pretend to cry or do any of that stuff. They just did what he said. Now, he might have done that behind closed doors, but I don't know. And then I told the other story where he finally got to pitch, and he threw such a lousy pitch, it hit the guy's bat without him swinging, and they got him out. But everybody just wanted to brag on him. Like when he got that hit, when he got that. But then once like 9 and 10-year-old ended and Little League came along, his dad wasn't coaching anymore because they had enough coaches. And Chad mysteriously stopped playing. And I know exactly why he stopped playing, because he wasn't that good. And neither was I. And he didn't have his dad to indulge him and make him an infielder and this legendary player. But old Chadwick, those teams were different. And his dad was a decent coach. I don't think, my dad doesn't give him nearly enough credit. He's a decent coach, but he's just way too indulgent of his son.